How was Tom's leadership of health and safety in that particular scenario? And for that matter, what about our more senior manager who he was talking to, whose office he was in? How was their leadership? What changed? What was different? Okay? And how did it affect Tom? Just a couple of minutes to turn to somebody next to you and have that conversation, please. Then we'll see what you've been talking about. Again, we'll bring the characters back out here. A couple of minutes to have that conversation. Off you go, please. Okay, let's have a look then. So, we've got Tom, still our character here, but Harriet's playing a new character now, a more senior manager. What was going on there then? Was there anything different? Did anything change in terms of the outcomes between the first scene and this scene? You told me in the first scene that he was keen to stop the job, keen to make sure it was all safe, didn't want people to break the rules, that kind of thing. What was different here? There we go, Emma.
Basically, he was just bullied, and that was all it was.
He was bullied?
He was bullied by her, yes.
By her.
She just didn't give him chance to get an absolute any conversation at all. Everything
okay.
he said,
What was driving her behaviour then? What was the important thing to her? Money, finance, production. The customer, she mentioned as well, didn't she? Yeah, making sure that they get the customer targets and all that kind of thing. Do you think? You said in the first scenario that he did care about the welfare of his people. Do you think she cared about their welfare?
No one?
Not at all. It's not panto, sir. No, it's quickly descending into it if we don't get this done in 15 minutes. So, yeah, okay, so, and again, you can clearly see that, and her values are probably very different to his. The values that he has, very different to hers. So, bullying him, focused on the money, on the customer, on those kind of things, okay? Do you ever get managers like that? Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. I've met them sometimes, and, it's hard to deal with sometimes. Don't point at him. You're not meant to be outing people in the middle of the session. He's a bully. Okay, so that kind of behavior there. So what happened? What happened to Tom and his... You said in the first scenario he was quite positive in terms of his leadership in health and safety. How did it affect his leadership in this scenario? What changed? What was different? Emma, over this side, look. Just watch that speaker that you don't get feedback as you go past.
I say he became demotivated now, so
okay.
He won't drive the safety thing.
So he's quite demotivated, yeah. So won't drive the safety. Yeah, go ahead.
He got battered by the lady, unfortunately, and he succumbed to what he didn't want to do, and that should never have happened.
So do you mean by that he said, just get the line up and running again? Yeah. Does that ever happen? Yeah? In spite of the fact that he's values-driven, in spite of the fact that you've told me he cares and he wants to do the right thing, and yet he's in this situation now where he's gone, we've just got to get on with it. We've just got to do it. Do you think he's happy at this point? No. Because when your values are overridden, that's when you're not happy. That's when you're uncomfortable. I've met health and safety leaders, health and safety managers in organizations who we've been in talks with trying to get us in, and their MD won't have it. No, we don't want them in. We don't want to do this kind of thing. And that health and safety manager, 2 months later, has sent us an email to say, I've now left that company because I don't want to be with them anymore because they're not doing the right thing. They don't really care. All they want to do is tick a box, okay? Their values have been crossed, and so they get out. They find an organization where their values are met, where their values are in line with. Okay, I wasn't flagging the V's there, by the way. That was an accident. Okay. So he's gone against his values, so he's unhappy now, and all the rest of it. What could have stopped that from happening? Is there anything you can think of? That again, Emma?
Yeah, he should never succumb to that sort of situation. He should have stood back and said, I'll phone the HSE up and get them in.
Okay, so maybe phone the HSE. Yeah, okay, over here, Emma. The HSE around here somewhere, so don't call them just now. This is fiction, okay? Go ahead.
Also, if you talk about the finances, because she's so on about finance, if you talk about the fact that if someone gets hurt, then it will cost the company more.
Okay.
Then she may have to be considered.
Yeah, and that's something a lot of people don't understand, isn't it? I'm sure most of us here do, but okay, we might miss a target or a deadline, but having a fatality because that robot started again and crushed someone to death, that's going to cost your company an awful lot of money and time and effort and all the rest of it. And we know that kind of iceberg theory. So absolutely, yeah, okay. But there's something beyond values that could have helped here, okay? Yes, I think leaders should be values-driven because it makes them authentic. But sometimes things cross those values. And sometimes those values come under pressure from outside influences. So there's one final piece of this jigsaw, if you like, that I want to talk about next before we move on. Thank you, guys. We'll see a little bit more from you in the beginning. Values are what? Oh, yeah, go on, there we go. All right, not too much, they'll want more money. Steady on, steady on. Okay, so values are one thing. But the other side of that is what I would call ethical boundaries. The lines in the sand that we will not cross as managers, as leaders, as supervisors, and all the rest of it. The points where we say, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry, I'm not behaving in that way. And what I try to encourage is that leaders of all levels have ethical boundaries. They have those lines in the sand. So I'll tell you what, just to finish this session off, let's think about Tom here, okay? Let's think about Tom and what his ethical boundaries might be. In fact, Tom, can you come out here a second, please? Are you in there? Tom! Tom, there we go. That's their luxurious dressing room back there, along with all the water bottles and pamphlets. Okay, so Tom here. Put under pressure in that final scene, as you saw. What ethical boundaries could Tom have had there that might have stopped that from happening? I want you to have a brief discussion about it. So, think about it like this. Come up with a couple of ethical boundaries that might have resulted in a different, a safer outcome if Tom had stuck to them. Ethical boundaries should apply whatever the circumstances might be. They are non-negotiable. They are always constant and consistent. And think about it in this context. You know, a couple of statements. That's what I want to come up with, you to come up with, that Tom could have had, starting with, I will not. I will not under any circumstances do this, ask this, behave in a particular way. Just 2 minutes for Tom. What could those have been that would have ended up with a different outcome to that scenario? Just 2 minutes to have a chat about that with somebody sitting next to you, then we'll see what kind of things you come up with. Off you go, please. 2 minutes. Thank you.